for joining me on this tech webinar, Tech 101 for Waste Managers. This is a little bit about my role. I'm responsible for business development across the UK, this started as a bit of an interest running webinars, a wider waste webinar to link in with work we were already doing with our route smart and route optimization clients, and realizing the day that I've been, I think, running webinars now for these webinars for 2.5 years, how time flies. But we've covered a whole range of topics, and someone suggested that we actually look at the whole issue of technology, new technology, what's happening. So I actually decided to put together this webinar today. So thanks very much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Just a little bit about the mechanics here at Integrated Skills. Our primary interest is in providing route optimization software and services, but back office and in-cab devices. We do other things. We've got waste composition analysis, and we do some other waste permitting and license work for waste operators. So we're busy. We've got a whole range of things on, but it's good of you to join us, and I hope you get a lot from today. Let me just kick off with a little bit of an introduction to what's coming up in the next couple of months. I mentioned that in month one, usually we do a technical webinar for our clients, and as part of that technical route smart webinar, we've been introducing this issue of taking an item or an issue or a query or a question from our support portal and actually expanding on that as part of our webinar. And so we've been doing that every time we do our webinars bi-monthly, and we've been looking at a specific issue about the software. How do you do this, or what's the best way of doing that? So we thought, just for a bit of difference, since it's summer, we thought in July, the end of this month, we'd do something slightly different, which is actually just put the whole of the webinar over to our clients. So the theme of the webinar is Route Smart Masterclass, Ask Us Anything. Obviously limiting that somewhat towards route optimization software, but not exclusively. So our clients will have an hour to ask any questions, and we'll be going through those as they come up. No such thing as a stupid question, which is my my favorite theme. So that's July. My next wider waste webinar, and I would recommend in all humility that you actually put it in your diaries, because this is Wednesday the 18th of August from 3 till 4. I'll be in conversation with Joanne Wood, who's developed WikiWaste. For those of you who've not come across it, WikiWaste is absolutely game-changing in terms of waste management and resources and information. And put a little quote in from me, I think it's the best resource for waste management professionals I've seen. It is superb. It is huge. She's done an awful lot of work on it. It's incredible, the depth and information available within it. If you've not heard about it, I would just Google WikiWaste and actually have a look at it. But Joanne Wood is the brains behind it. She developed it. So on August the 18th, she's going to tell us about why she developed it, how she developed it, and actually give us a tour around the site, which I'm looking forward to. That will be great. I've heard Joanne talk about it before, and she is very engaging, and so that will be really interesting. So on to today. We wanted to talk tech, and I've been scouring around looking for potential contributors to today, and very quickly realised there's actually a huge amount of material, and it's a vast topic. So to an extent, I've had to trim down what we do today. So today, I think, is going to be the first of probably a series of tech webinars where we're actually focusing on different types of technology available. So today you'll be hearing from James Newhill and Shaun Hamilton. They're from Vision Techniques, and they'll be talking about what I think is some really interesting stuff. I'll be talking to them about their established business, which is CCTV cameras. Not everyone, that's not across the whole scene yet. Not everyone's got CCTV, so they'll be talking about the benefits of CCTV. And then we'll be talking about artificial intelligence, which is really interesting. I was on speaking on a webinar the other day, and artificial intelligence will be here within years. We'll be seeing artificial intelligence being applied to our business. However ridiculous we think that is today, it will be here in a couple of years. We will be using artificial intelligence within waste management, without a doubt. So we talk about artificial intelligence, and then picking up on a previous, a couple of webinars we've done previously. Last summer I talked to Brian Main about circular economy, and then from that we did an article. We wrote a paper on the circular economy and waste management, local authority waste management. Which was really interesting, looking at those areas that waste managers within the local authority sphere could actually look at reducing carbon. A couple of months ago, we did a Confused by Carbon webinar. So we kind of looked at, just to go back to scratch, what is the story again with carbon and how can we save it, and actually looked at some carbon saving techniques and ideas within that webinar. Today, again, Vision Techniques. It's a new piece of tech, but we're talking about solar panels on RCVs and reducing carbon on vehicles, which is great. I'm going to make a start, and then I'll come back to the second half when I'll be talking to Gez Jones. Now, the interviews today are 2 pre-recorded interviews, and once you get into the interviews, it's very difficult to sort of keep them as short as possible. So they're actually quite extensive. Both sets of interviews will be available on our website after this. But today, for the purposes of the webinar, so we can keep within my time of an hour, which I promised would stay to, we've actually edited the interviews down quite significantly. So you'll see that there are a number of points. There are slides interjected, which are actually my questioning of our guests. So you'll see a slide, and you've got to imagine, I'm afraid, at that point, I'm asking a question, and this is a conversation, which it actually was, and you can see in the full recording. So without further ado, let's crack on, and I first want to talk to James Newhill and Shaun Hamilton of Vision Techniques. Quite a lot going on here, a lot of technology, a lot of new stuff come out, and actually I've got to announce that Vision Techniques have actually launched the AI technology on this interview, and also VT Solar, which are both now live products. So I started my interview with James asking him just to give us a bit of an update on who are Vision Techniques, and then the rest of the questions will follow in the kind of the PowerPoint format, and I'll see you at the end. Thanks. Just before I finish, if it might confuse you to actually see 2 versions of me, so it might actually help you just to dock the camera. There is a dock icon at the far right of the camera that you can see me on now. You can actually click on that, dock me across to the right-hand side of your screen, and actually you'll see the other one of me, which is actually on the video. Okay, thanks very much. Here's James Newhill and Shaun Hamilton.
Vision Techniques, we've been in operation for 34 years, family-owned business, still owned by the same gentleman, Mr. Michael Hanson. And from the very first year of inception, the company has been focusing on bringing vehicle safety solutions into the commercial marketplace. For the past 34 years, we've been doing that. We've been at the forefront of innovation of technology in the commercial vehicle marketplace. And one of the niche areas that we have been very successful in has been the waste market in particular, along with other areas including construction, quarry, mining, and cash in transit. But certainly when it comes to the waste and associated industries, the business has been at the forefront of technology for this period of time, and we've introduced lots of different safety systems into the marketplace, all to make the refuse collection industry a safer one, not only to be part of, but for the general public and personnel within it. So yeah, our goal has really been on making this industry a safer place to be, and to date we've achieved that. There's a lot of local authorities now coming on board to the way of utilising cameras within their fleet operation. And there's a number of reasons for that. First and foremost, the added safety element above what you would normally get as a standard refuse vehicle. The added elements are enhanced visibility all around the vehicle. And as we're well aware within this industry, you know, it's one of the most dangerous to be in when you're working alongside extremely heavy duty vehicles. Not only that, the risk that is posed by the public, other vehicles on the highways when they're carrying out the refuse collections. So certainly the enhanced visibility around the vehicle provided by CCTV is something that I think a lot of authorities now see, that there's real added value in protecting the crew members and protecting the driver and the wider public themselves. So certainly there's a huge safety element. Not only that, when it comes to cameras and recording, the ability to record events, certainly when there has been a potential incident, an accident, a member of the public has raised a concern, whether that's a safety concern, with the authority themselves, the ability to go back and review that footage and maybe go back to the crew or the drivers to give additional training or support, or to actually back a driver or the crew up in instances where there has been claims made against the authority that are not quite correct. My experience tells me certainly that there has been a bit of a sea change. I think initially it was very much led on the essence of negating insurance claims. Local authorities were often seen as an easy target from the general public. And, you know, a local authority would receive, you know, tens of hundreds of claims sometimes in a year, because of the nature of the operation, and the fact that a lot of the authorities would essentially just pay out on most claims.
Yeah.
So to be able to provide evidence to the contrary and support the crews against claims that were coming in has been certainly something that's assisted the local authority in savings. Predominantly, there is a standard specification that certainly Vision Techniques would offer, and that would normally be on a standard refuse truck, a 4-camera DVR system covering the front, near side, offside and rear of the vehicle, an onboard recording system that would give the authority between 30 and 60 days of stored recorded footage on board the vehicle. And then the added ability to access that recorded footage live at any point during a 24-hour period through a remote connection, whether that's 3G, 4G, through your mobile phone or your tablet. So certainly the specifications of systems have come on quite a bit in the last few years as technology's improved. We're now with HD cameras as standard, so giving really clear visibility around the sides of the vehicle, and the clarity of image, not only that on the stored hard drive itself on board the vehicle, is able to pick up things like license plates, vehicle types, registrations, facial recognition, things like that. So there's numerous storage options depending on the type of DVR that you wish to go for, starting from basic SD type recorders, which will record onto an SD card, up to the larger hard drive or solid state disk drives that will hold around 2 to 3 terabytes of stored footage. Now, depending on the quality levels of the cameras and how you're recording the footage, will really depend on the length of footage and the time that you're going to actually store on board that hard drive itself. But as a general rule of thumb, we would say that on a 4-camera system that uses HD cameras on a 1 terabyte hard drive, you will get approximately 30 to 40 days of stored footage. Now, that footage is accessible in a couple of different ways, as you've alluded to. First and foremost, the footage is stored on board the hard drive internally within the DVR. The DVR is locked using a lockable security key. So it's only able to be accessed by a supervisor holding the security key itself. And then the data is downloaded using an appropriate software that is also password protected. So there's a couple of levels of protection there in terms of accessing that data. The data cannot be accessed by a driver or anyone else externally from the unit at all. You can then connect directly to that hard drive after removing it from the DVR and download the footage at will directly to a PC or a laptop. The second element is connecting to the unit via 3G, 4G or Wi-Fi connection. And this seems to now have kind of taken over from the older direct connection. I see a lot of our customers now see the real value, not only in time and cost, but of actually being able to view that footage in real time and also be able to remotely access that footage historically at any point during the day, as long as the vehicle's active.
Nice.
And again, there's various pieces of software that we offer that allow you to connect to the DVR itself and get a secure encrypted connection to allow you to get direct access, whether you want to download or just review. So I mentioned the direct download from the drive, and these are the types of images that you would get from the direct download. So you've got your vehicle position on the map on the right hand side. You can see that, but it gives you an overlay telling you the vehicle registration, the speed, the time and the date, and also the coordinates for the position of the vehicle itself. And then on the left hand side, you've got your images, front, near side, offside and rear in HD quality, with a video overlay, again, of similar information, registration plate, time and date and speed. And that is watermarked onto the actual video footage, so it can be used in terms for insurance claims, court of law, police evidence, things like that. Secondly to that, there is then, as I mentioned to you, a ability to review remotely. And this is one part of our live view platform. So this customer we've connected directly in, and we're reviewing a reverse maneuver and been loading into the vehicle. As you can see from the images there, that there's a couple of things. We see school children in the image on the top left. Yep. We see our operators and crew in the bottom right. We're looking for things like PPE usage, hats, gloves, boots, things like that. And we can access this footage instantaneously, normally with 1 or 2 second delay at most from actual real-time events. And again, we can do that through multiple platforms: phone, tablet, computer, laptop.
Great.
The system gives you a complete overview of all of your vehicles on the left-hand side, so you can review any one of the vehicles on the fleet. And by double-clicking on that vehicle, it opens up the 4 cameras onto the platform and enables you to watch the images as it happens. New advancements in camera technology have led us to launch a system called Night Sight. We're now on generation 2 of this camera, and this type of camera technology gives us clear daytime images in very, very low light areas. So it's absolutely perfect for refuse collections who are operating in early hours or later evenings, especially through the winter months when you've got those really dark periods. Yeah. And it gives you real enhanced imagery like you're working in daylight. The solution that we will be launching in the next few weeks is called VT Iris. And this is, excuse me, an automated full health and safety platform, utilizing either existing cameras or can be used with new cameras fitted to new vehicles. The system is built to utilize the technology that we have in the background that's looking at the visual imagery captured by the cameras and look for potential infringements and violations as they happen in real time. And the solution that we've got is, as I say, it's completely remote and working in the background 24/7 and looking for whatever violation or infringement or issue we choose it to look for. Ultimately, if the human eye can detect a problem, so can this solution that we've got. And we can build those violation sets into the platform to move with the customer, and it can be very bespoke to each customer individually. So what might be one local authority's problem may be very different to another local authority. So things that we can automatically detect are near misses, accidents, spills, PPE compliance, space encroachment, near misses, traffic rules. So that's just really the kind of tip of the iceberg. The opportunities for this technology are limitless. As I mentioned, if the human eye can see it, we can detect it. The way that we then use the system is we identify these alerts and infringements taking place. I'll give you a quick idea of what the system is doing in the background with the...
Okay. I'll tell you what, this is my cue to share my screen. I'll actually show you this.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll use this one as a case example.
I think I've got two. I've got two, I think, here, James. So we can use both if you want. I'll just press play. So tell us what's happening on this slide here.
So what you'll see here is the system automatically detecting a person moving into the line of fire of the machine. In this case, this is a machine that is working on the HS2 project. The machine is identifying the usage of PPE. Are they wearing gloves? Are they wearing a hat? Are they wearing boots? And are they wearing a vest? Then it's looking if they move into the line of fire, as we call it, or the red box on the screen displays the area that is too close to a working machine. So every time the operator or whoever else it may be enters the red zone, we get an alert. And during that period, it is also looking for the other areas of PPE infringement. So if they're not wearing their gloves or their hat, it will generate an alert for us. Now,
I think we've got someone else coming in. Someone else is going to join the screen in a second. Oh, there we are. Yeah.
There we go. So so as you see, we've got an example there of the vest not being done up, and it's highlighting him. He moves in and out of the box, and each time it does this, it generates an alert. Now, this is an alert that's generated in the back end of the system. So it's not going to pop up an email every 5 seconds to let you know someone's not wearing their PPE. But what it does, it gathers this data in the background and provides you with key evidence as to what violations are happening within your operation. No matter how small or how big, we can then tailor the alerts to suit your individual needs. So, for instance, if it is the case that you have a significant near miss, an operator moving close to a moving bin wagon, a member of the public too close, then we can make that instant alert, generate a text or an email to let you know there's been a substantial near miss alert on this particular vehicle. If it's just a case that someone isn't wearing a pair of gloves, or they've taken it off, or the PPE is not done up, then it can just generate that alert in the background for you to come back to and run a report on. So here is the system in the back end is identifying the helmets, the vests, and it's putting a box around each operator that's on site, and it's constantly doing this 24/7 as long as the camera is in operation.
Okay.
while the vehicles are out on site, obviously is the critical moment that we want to be capturing this data. Now, we've built also additional violations in things like missed bin alert. So our bins presented, the system can read bin types. Is it a green bin? Is it general waste? Is it food waste? Is it recyclables? We can then also look at the loading practices of the crew. Are they picking the boxes or the bins correctly? Are they loading them onto the bin wagon correctly? So we can build a whole health and safety landscape for you, which can be as detailed as you want it to be. This is the type of data that we're gathering in the back end. So each violation is captured with a small video clip or a still frame of the violation that it's picked up. And from the screen that we've got there, we're looking at line of fire, which is moving too close to the vehicle, and we're looking at mask compliance. So in this particular area, we're looking at people not wearing a mask for COVID safety reasons. On the top right, we've then got the critical violations that are relevant to this operation. So the violations that they have had are 21 mask violations, 146 helmets, and 42 vests. So it may be that we just focus our attention on the biggest one, which is helmets, and we do an internal training program, or we put internal memos out reminding our staff that the usage of PPE helmet is critical to the business, and we can adopt it in that way.
I like it. Wow. Really interesting stuff. Yeah.
A little bit more on the dashboard, as you can see there. This is just where it gathers the data for people that like colourful graphs and bar charts and things like that. It's all put there in nice data, so you can export this and use it internally as an operation, but as a wider local authority as well.
Thanks. Yeah. So VT Solar is initially exactly as it says. It's a solar panel which fits onto the top of initially a refuse vehicle. What it does and how it works, as we all know, the majority of refuse vehicles and HGV vehicles have a massive draw on their electrical supply, which in turn then has a massive draw on the engine. We all know when we jump in our cars and we put the air conditioning on, it affects the revs of the vehicle in exactly the same way as it does with the HGV. But you have other massive draws. A lot of these refuse vehicles now have electric lifts on the back. So couple that together with the CCTV cameras, the heated seats, the demisters, etc. It's a massive draw. So we were quite lucky to be able to fall upon different options and different systems. And VT Solar Save is basically a thin solar panel, which is next generation solar panel system, which sits on top of the refuse vehicle. I have to say here, it has to work on daylight. It doesn't need to require sunlight. It's a daylight reactive panel, and what that does, it then trickles feeds back into the battery system and allows the vehicle to run its electrical units from this, as opposed to creating an extra draw upon the vehicle. Because of that, then it gives you two things: a massive fuel saving throughout the day, and in turn then also a saving on the CO2.
Shaun, the challenge has always been with solar panels. It's always been the sort of question of return on investment. Is it actually worth spending money on solar panels? Are you ever going to actually get a return on your investment? So you've obviously done some work on that and thought about it. So you talk us through that a little bit.
We have, yes. The panels themselves are guaranteed for the life of the vehicle. They're actually guaranteed beyond the life of the vehicle. Most refuse vehicles last between 9 and some vehicles, or some local authorities push them to 10 years. These solar panels have a 20-year life on them, so they're going to last the life of the vehicle. We are looking at the actual fuel saving alone that these systems will basically pay for themselves between 1.5 and 2 years. This is just this is a typical example. This is a Biffa vehicle, which is a vehicle. We decided to look at should we do it with a small vehicle, should we do it with a large vehicle, a 36 tonner, to get a larger spread, and we decided that we would look at a 26 ton refuse vehicle, because at the end of the day, 85–90% of the refuse vehicles in the UK are 26 ton. So we decided to run it with a 26 ton standard diesel engine with standard hydraulic lifts. So this isn't a one-off electric lift vehicle or anything else like that. This is pretty much the box standard vehicles that
the fair starting point. Yeah.
Yeah, most local authorities have, and virtually every private company run. Now that, as you can see on the top, that is between the 31st of May 2021 and the 4th of June 2021. You can see there the CO2 savings, the diesel saved, and the actual solar yield throughout that 1 week. When you then run that, if you can drop onto the next slide, when you then run that across the savings, it would equate to, and bearing in mind local authorities and large waste companies usually have bunker priced fuel, which is considerably cheaper than the rest of us have to pay on the at the pump, but the savings are still there. So you would equate that to a yearly saving of 3,100 kilograms, so 3.1 tons of CO2 saved, which is at the cost of £1 and 8p a litre. It's 1,366.53 saved in fuel, because you're in turn saving 1,265 litres.
Very good. Wow, that's an interesting one. And is that a product that's all scaled up, ready to go?
It is. We are ready to go with this product. It is VT Solar Safe powered by Trailer, and it is a system that it's ready to go. We're conducting the trials with Biffa at this present time. We have quoted a couple of authorities already that we've shown this to, but we've only shown it to 2 authorities so far.
Yeah.
And there's a press release from Biffa,
right,
going to be coming out very shortly.
Let me say that without mute on. I hope that was interesting for you. It was certainly interesting to have the conversation, and I bet you're all very impressed at how I actually managed to get all of that content out from just a few ums and ahs and some PowerPoint slides. But there is a full conversation and discussion on that, and that will be available on our website, and I will point you towards those after the event. Okay, well, I hope this is helpful so far. I think what I want to do now is actually go for the second part of this tech webinar, and I'd like to introduce you to Gez Jones, who we've worked with for a number of years. Gez Jones is an expert on all things tablet and portable computers. I asked Gez what he actually calls this industry, and you'll see that later. But once again, I'll get this video going. If you want to if you want to dock my camera, again, the right-hand side there is the docking icon. I'm going to introduce Gez Jones. So thanks very much. I'm really pleased to introduce Gez Jones from Rugged Mobile Systems with us today to talk some more about tech. Gez, many people will know you probably already and have seen your face and definitely heard of the name of the company. I wonder if you could tell us a bit about yourself and Rugged Mobile, introduce us to the company and what it is you actually do.
Yeah, well, first of all, kind of myself, I'm an engineer by background. I had a lot of my early days spent implementing what were then fairly large IT solutions at the front end of industrial processes in power generation, steel, mining even, and many other manufacturing sectors. And later on, I moved across to doing work within the utility sectors in the UK. And as part of that activity, I became involved in looking at the business case and the, I suppose, the return on investment that people could gain from applying what was then quite new mobile computing equipment to large field teams. And these were the big field teams of utility people looking after the infrastructure networks and the like. And that led me then to get more deeply involved in mobile computing, and worked with organizations manufacturing equipment and also implementing them. And in 2007 established Rugged Mobile Systems as a specialist company to supply rugged mobile computing hardware and its associated services. So it's
Okay.
still mobile computing, but we put the term rugged mobile computing in our title to give the impression that it is not,
Yeah.
I suppose, the consumer grade products that people see in their domestic lives, and also in lighter business kind of usage.
Yeah, that's helpful. Could you tell us a bit about Rugged Mobile, a bit of background?
Well, we're, as I said, a specialist supplier of rugged mobile computing hardware. And in our terms, that's basically at the one extreme, it's the handheld devices, the rugged smartphones and things like that that you see in supermarkets and similar kind of places. Then through to rugged tablet devices, some of them quite small and easy to carry, other ones quite large, 12-inch units and things like that. And also through to rugged, specialist rugged tablets and notebook type devices. And lastly, a quite important part of our business is the application or the supply of equipment for in-vehicle use and in-cab use, particularly in businesses, local authorities, emergency services, and people like that. Yeah, I think, we've looked at kind of some of these kind of areas, as you can imagine, and I think what we see, it's the drive for digitization across not just local authorities but businesses generally, where
Yeah.
they are trying to drive out paper. They want information to be captured as close as source as possible. They want information to flow back from the center and central systems to the point of work and things like that. So for that, everybody involved in the process needs to be connected in some way. And if those people are in a truck, kind of trolling around the streets, then the people in those in the vehicle and the status of the vehicle itself needs to be included in that digitization process. But we also see health and safety demands occurring in terms of not just the vehicle, where pre-start health checks and things like that need to be done, and the ability to monitor critical conditions around the vehicle engine can be important, but also looking at things potentially like driver performance, and making sure that if that only drivers that are I suppose fully trained for that particular role is in charge of the machinery.
Yes.
And then on the back of that, there's the general need these days. People feel that everybody needs to have been able to sign off that they've seen the latest health and safety instructions and procedures and things like that, and been able to deliver those directly to people where they work. We've looked at this also. I've got a slide here on some of the key considerations for equipment that's going to be in cab, and I'll just run through a small number of these. But one of the key things is a decision that needs to be made kind of up front as to whether the equipment is only going to be used within the cab of the vehicle, or whether it's going to be used by the full team that's associated with the vehicle. And this is quite an important distinction, which affects a lot of other things in your decision process. So whether you put a tablet PC in some kind of a docking cradle so that the team can take it out and actually do roadside kind of activities or bin checking activities and then bring it back into the vehicle, or whether you have it fixed on the dash so it's always there for the driver to use. And yeah, there's a lot of implication on which way you take there in terms of what kind of kit you should go with. Survivability is the other thing, of course. You know, we're talking here of equipment that the expectation is that the investment period is going to be reasonably long. You know, we're talking 5 years plus for the vehicles and things like that. So having equipment that can survive over that period of time or have a consistent upgrade path over that period of time is important. And it's not by any means a benign environment. It's quite a harsh environment we're working in. The people are doing kind of manual handling tasks very often. So those considerations have to be taken into account. And we'll, as I said, if we have an opportunity, I can go into the question of rugged versus non-rugged a little bit later. Of the other elements there are things that are important, but I think one of the ones is continuity and support within there, that kind of having equipment where there's extended warranties available for them, that there's local repair centers available for them and things like that. We're finding at the moment, for example, that post-Brexit, that even repair centers that are based in kind of close European countries are a problem, because you still have to raise the export documentation and things like that to get them out and get them back in. And there are now charges associated with those. So even what you thought was a free warranty, there is going to be a cost on those every time it goes in and out. So these issues are there. And yeah, the ability to install and deinstall and things like that. In these kind of environments, we're expecting people to be able to continue to buy what they bought last year. The key one, obviously, on if we're looking at, say, first a tablet with a vehicle dock, obviously you can actually use that in the vehicle, and you can use it outside of the vehicle. Outside of the vehicle, you can do your maybe bin ID, data capture and things like that. You can do the vehicle pre-start checks directly online and things. You can have flexibility in the way that you share devices between vehicles and things. So there appears to be kind of a number of useful features in there. And yeah, and if they get damaged, you can easily replace one and just kind of get the software loaded on and kind of roll it back out into the field. And in some cases, there's a perceived lower initial purchase cost of the tablets, but there's a negative on that as well, that they can, by the time you buy a proper crash tested cradle, they can be more expensive. So on the against side of this, you have to remember that if you've got a tablet and somebody takes it out of the vehicle, you've got no device in the vehicle anymore. So any usage that you were giving to the driver with that device is no longer there. So driver doesn't get visibility of his routes and things like that while it's out of the vehicle. And also, you've got limitations in terms of what you can connect to in the vehicle. If, for example, you're connecting to some other equipment in the vehicle, immediately you undock the device, you've lost that connectivity. So, you know, we've seen with things like winter gritting vehicle, where you're connecting to the gritter controller, or you in a waste collection vehicle, you may be connecting to weighing equipment that's picking up weighing data and things like that. So there's lots of considerations to be made there. The other thing is that the tablet really needs a safe in-vehicle docking facility. The last thing you want is that device to drop out of the dock and fall into the driver footwell underneath the pedals or something like that. So the vehicle's got to be absolutely safely docked. And to do that, you need a professional crash tested dock, ideally. The other thing, through the dock, you do, particularly with certain products, you've got very limited interconnective interconnecting capability to interface onto other systems in the vehicle. Even down to things like, we find it very, very useful, and our clients find it useful to be able to support roof mount antennas on the vehicles. Now, to do that, you need to have a thing called pass-through of the RF signals from the tablet through to antenna on the roof. Now, not all docking cradles provide that. So you're then limited to the sensitivity of GPS in particular, the antenna that's embedded within the tablet, mounted inside the cab. And that is not as sensitive as having a GPS antenna that's on the roof. And being able to give you better and more accurate GPS coverage. And also on things like 3G and 4G, if you've got an external antenna, you'll find there's less areas where you're going to drop out of signal. Not all of the tablets and the cradles are fully specified for in-vehicle usage. You know, there are vibration and shock standards, MIL standards that can apply to this, and making sure that the device you've got can withstand 5 years of vehicle vibration and shock and things like that is quite important. There's another element as well, that if you are moving the equipment between the field and into the vehicles, you're undocking it, you're moving it in and out of the vehicle through the door, taking it out into the real world environment. The chances of damage, the chances of dropping it are going to be higher than something that might be fixed in the vehicle. So they are going to be more prone to damage. They're also going to be more prone to theft. So there are little things like that need to be taken into account. And as a result of that, you're going to end up very often with having to manage a higher level of spares on
Yes.
of devices and things.
So you're
like
probably
that.
buying more.
You're going to have to buy more
this
to
scenario.
make sure that you maintain the level of service.
Okay, what about the fixed mount option then? What tell us about that?
On the fixed mount option, the situation there is we're talking about a device that's bolted directly onto the dash of or in the cab. So it's permanently available in the cab and only in the cab. There's no additional approved vehicle dock needed, because it's not going to be kind of taken out and put back in. And they very often design specifically for sustained use in trucks, because that's very often it's for fleets and things like that is what they've been designed for. So they designed from square one for that duty, not kind of a piece of kit or a tablet that's been really designed for people to walk around with a device in their hands, then being put into a vehicle environment. So they're less prone to damage because they're not being moved. They're obviously less prone to loss because it's more difficult to take them out of the vehicle. And they generally have a more extensive range of interfacing capability. So if you want serial ports, USB ports, even network ports, if you want to drive a second display, if you want to be able to connect to a piece of monitoring equipment on the vehicle, like the CAN bus and things like that, those things are much easier with a fixed mount than with the tablet solutions. The cons on that, obviously, you can't take it out of the vehicle. But having said that, these days a lot of teams do have a mobile phone with them and a smartphone, and sometimes the format of a smartphone is probably more useful than a larger tablet device in some of those kind of off-vehicle applications, like if you're doing a bin ID check or a vehicle pre-start check. Having a small phone-sized product that you can just drop into your pocket easily is better than an 8-inch or a 10-inch tablet that you're dragging around with you. In relatively benign kind of environments, then there's nothing at all wrong with using a good quality consumer grade tablet. And there are some people who do produce good quality kit, and some of them that actually do slightly overlap onto what I would term the rugged marketplace. Samsung is one of those with they've got a range of their Tough Tab devices, and they are well built, well supported. But in general, kind of, we do kind of see kind of a big divide between the consumer grade products and the rugged products. And the main attraction of the consumer grade product is usually initial purchase cost and availability. You can go and buy one off the shelf. And beyond that, there's not a lot extra you get from it, but there are lots of things that you lose, you don't get. They're not designed for persistent vehicle use or very often the kind of ongoing outdoor tough usage. So they've got a limited life in that way. They don't have the robustness of the devices that are designed specifically for harsh outdoor use. Problems sometimes against screen hardness and drop specifications. Some of those are improving as the devices can become lighter, but there are other problems as well with wet usage. Once you start using a device out in the true outdoors, you've got all that weather will throw at you. So you've got high sunlight levels, so you need to have a good sunlight readable screen. You're going to have water droplets on the screen, and with modern capacitive screens even, you can get lots of problems still with water droplets on the screen, which infuriates the user and sometimes makes it quite difficult to use. And also, you should have extended temperatures, because if you're going to be in a hot cab and things like that, particularly when it's stationary and things like that, those products can start getting close to their operating temperatures at the top end, but especially so at the bottom end. Most of them are rated at 0 degrees C. They don't have a rating below 0 degrees C. So you're kind of on a cold morning down up in Scotland there at -15 or whatever, after sitting there for the weekend, that device is going to be very cold. And you want to make sure that when you turn the ignition on, it's going to start.
Yeah.
And run your software for you, particularly if it's a gritter or something like that on a quite an important task. And okay, on the non-rugged devices, you don't get the fancy things that you can get on the business-based or business type tablets with barcode scanning, RFID tag reading, and things that you may want to do in the future on tracking bins and things like that. But the next point, the point about batteries, is quite a significant one, because in the consumer grade products, usually the batteries are not exchangeable. And that determines how long you can use that device for very often. The expectation on a consumer product is that if you get a year out of it or 2 years out of it, you're doing well. And kind of what happens is the battery runs out and it doesn't hold charge anymore. You're constantly having to charge them. And you find that the life of the product is determined by the life of the battery. The main difference is that the rugged devices are designed for outdoor and vehicle usage. And they've usually got things like long battery life. They've got field exchangeable batteries. So as soon as the battery starts losing its ability to hold charge, you can very readily swap them around. And then the remaining parts around the product are usually to the same standard. So you've got professional vehicle docks associated with the rugged devices. And again, these have been designed to the same specifications to a great extent that the device has here. Okay, probably not the water ones, because we're not expecting water in the cab, but in terms of vibration and shock and things like that. And generally, they have more capabilities in terms of being able to do the specialist things that businesses would want in terms of data capture, in terms of your barcode scanning, RFID reading, even things like infrared cameras on them, so that you can tell if something's got kind of hot product in it and things. And the warranty periods are aligned to what the customer expects. So we're talking of being able to have warranties for up to 5 years. And obviously with that, the downsides are, yes, the initial purchase cost is greater, and usually the lead times from these products are longer. I suppose it's fairly obvious to say that your total or your initial cost of purchase of something doesn't really reflect how much it's going to cost you to own it over a period of time. And that's really where total cost of ownership comes in. So it's trying to evaluate all of the costs. Now, some of those are very, very straightforward things like the initial purchase costs, your licenses that you'll need, what's the cost for installation and rollout and things like that, what the cost of your extended warranties and things like that that you need. Those are things that you can get off your suppliers' quotations and things like that usually, and add the numbers up. But very often there are other subjective costs that need to be taken into account, that you need to analyze kind of what do your extended warranties really mean, and things like that. And if they're quite short, then what is going to be the cost of the out of warranty repairs? Mm-hmm. What's the level of spare holdings you need? And that's going to depend again on the type of kit you're going to purchase, and what the expected failure rate may be of the equipment over that kind of period, and things like that. So you can adjust how many devices you need to keep on hand. And associated with that, you need to look at the cost of doing the replacement of a device that fails, the implication of failure of kind of replacing it. And there is a cost there in terms of IT support and things like that, that is going to be felt by the business. That's before you come to the point where you're looking at what the cost of failure is on the operational side of the business, in terms of you're taking perhaps a team and an asset out of operation for a period of time, and how often that is actually going to happen. And coming through and working through those subjective costs are quite difficult. What are the likely implications of support that's going to be needed for the product? And evaluate those based on robustness, the level of support provided, and things like that is an exercise that is worth doing. One final kind of slide here in summary. I think kind of one of the main things is have a clarity really on what the key requirements are, kind of not just what you're doing today, but what's coming down the road and what you need to be able to consider for the future as well.
Well, thanks, Gez, for that. Thank you very much for joining us today. I've just got a couple of things to say before I finish, which is just to remind you about our upcoming webinars. So the one I'll be running on Wednesday, the 18th of August, I would really recommend you put that in your diary. I'll be sending out an invite for you to join us to find out about WikiWaste, the WikiWaste website, which I've got to say is brilliant. For those of you who are RootSmart clients, this Thursday the 29th, in 2 weeks' time, today is going to be our masterclass, Ask Us Anything. That will be good fun to see what people get asked, and whether Beth or James can actually deal with it. So give us some difficult ones. Finally, just wanted to say, please, if you've got any feedback on today, it's a first for me looking at sort of tech subjects like this. Has it been too long, too short? Has it been interesting, not interesting? Have you got any other topics or any other areas that you'd like us to think about or me to organize and feature? If you do, if you want to get back in touch with me, then my email address is shenshaw@integrated-skills.com, or you could email us at events@integrated-skills.com. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope that was helpful and enjoyable. Really appreciate your time. Thanks very much to James, to Shaun, to Gez for giving up their time to actually spend time waffling along with me and actually running the interviews. The interviews themselves will be in our website, and please have a look at those. Final thought, a quick look at the weather. It looks like most of us have actually got sunshine, and it looks like we've got a nice evening ahead. So please go out, enjoy the sunshine. We'll speak to you again soon. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.